Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Lunch by square pants. Look at this blanket. Look at it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Hello, book lovers, and welcome back to the library. If you are new here, my name is Desiree, and I love diving into books that challenge perspectives, spark conversations, and highlight marginalized voices. It is Black History Month, if you could not tell already, okay? And I will be accepting reparations in the form of monetary donations. Thank you. Obviously, I am Black every month, but this month I am especially Black, okay? I'm blackity black. I'm talking all things Black. And today, I will be sharing some Black sci-fi and fantasy book recommendations for y'all. Some people will be looking for recommendations this month because for some reason, dedicated months to reading diversely is like the only time when people choose to read diversely instead of making it a regular practice. But I digress, let's get into it. Starting at the top of the list, we have a classic by Octavia E. Butler. Kindred. Yes, I know. Yes, I'm sure you've heard this one before. But I can't not include it on this list. She's like the pioneer for sci-fi for Black women authors. I also forgot to mention that I tried to include books that I don't usually see people recommending in this list, aside from a few, obviously. I have Kindred in my hands. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight a few that hopefully y'all haven't heard before. Okay, so Kindred follows a Black woman named Dana in the 1970s who constantly gets pulled into the past without her consent to the antebellum South to try and save her ancestor Rufus, her white ancestor, might I add. And she does this, obviously, to preserve her existence in the present. Back in 1976, her white husband Keith is always there for when she returns to support her every step of the way. So Kindred explores the themes of slavery, the complicated relationship with family legacy while being Black in America, as well as feminism in the late 1970s. Sorry if I could speak. And also the corrupting influence of power, because when we first meet Rufus, he's a child. But every time that Dana goes back, he gets older and older, and she's continuing to see how corrupted Rufus is becoming. So I read this book back in college as, homework, and I don't think I appreciated it back then, and I tried to do a reread while also watching the show, because there is a show that came out a couple years ago, last year or 2 years ago, not sure. But as soon as the show started diverting from the book, I was like, I can't do this. So I stopped reading it. However, this is one of my book club's book of the month pick, so I guess I have to read it again. Oh well. But yeah, just thinking about the concept of a Black woman constantly being pulled unexpectedly from the present to the past, antebellum times, can you imagine the fear, the confusion, the emotions, and each trip becomes increasingly more dangerous. All of this to save your white ancestor. Ugh, it makes me so frustrated because it's such a complicated relationship. And she gets to see how, slowly how the world of slavery and the antebellum times corrupts the soul. She met this kid. Well, she met her ancestor as a child, and he was innocent. He was innocent, okay? And as time goes on, each trip, she just slowly sees him become more and more a product of his time. Now, I know I said I was going to be recommending books that you probably haven't heard of before, but I can't pass up an opportunity to talk about my favorite, Legendborn. I just can't. If you haven't heard already, you're living under a rock, but that's okay because I'm here to tell you about it. Legendborn by Tracy Deonn follows our grieving main character, 16-year-old Bree Matthews, as she's navigating grief following the death of her mother in an accident. Bree Matthews really chooses to ignore her feelings and just push them down because they are too much for her, and she really wants to distance herself from her past. And a great opportunity to do that is when she is accepted into this Head Start college program at UNC Chapel Hill, which is a predominantly white institution, or a PWI. And lucky for her, on her first night, she witnesses a magical attack. And from then, she is thrown into the world of magic and legendary orders. Legendborn is a beautifully retelling and reimagining of the Arthurian legend that encompasses Black girl magic, quite literally. So like I said, Bree loses her mother in the beginning of the book. And so Legendborn really explores themes of grief, personal grief, as well as generational grief, the weight of legacy, systemic racism, reclaiming your power, and like I was saying before, just reimagining the Arthurian legend. So I did have the privilege of seeing Tracy Deonn speak during her Oathbound author event tour, and one thing stuck out to me in regard to the Arthurian legend. She was saying how it's frustrating and annoying that we're forced to remember and revere a fictional character that is Arthur. So she decided to take that and turn it on its head with a black girl at the center. Yeah, Legendborn is just one of those books that I definitely would read over and over again. I would recommend to young adults, especially black girls, because I, even as a 30-year-old, see myself in Bree. I went to a predominantly white institution. I grew up around predominantly white people. So I really see myself in her, and I really also appreciate how real and raw Tracy Deonn writes Bree. Because unfortunately, black women are not seen as human. We are put into this box and we are not allowed to feel any other emotion but strong, right? Sadness or anger are seen as outbursts, and Tracy Deonn normalizes those feelings coming from a black girl in this book. And that's one of the biggest things I appreciate about Legendborn and the 3 books that we have so far. Up next, we have The Macabre by Kosoko Jackson. I hope I pronounced that right. I have yet to read this one, but I am very excited. It sounds spooky and scary, but there's also magic in it. I'm going to read from my notes. Okay, so Lewis Dixon, a struggling painter who recently lost his mother, is surprised when the British Museum expresses interest in his art. Instead of a showcase, he faces a test to determine if his passionate creative episodes are actually magical powers that allow him to enter a set of rare paintings created by his great-grandfather. These paintings possess immense, dangerous powers and are highly sought after. Tasked with destroying them after he passes his test, Lewis teams up with the museum agent Noah Rao, embarking on a global adventure through black markets, ancient history, and magical realms. Along the way, Lewis must find his artistic confidence, open himself to connection, and navigate a reality where magic is very real. I have not read this book yet, but when I was doing research and based off of the synopsis, it seems like that this book explores themes of grief as well as the exploration of colonialism through art. And there's also, I guess, apparently queer romance. Okay. And there's also, if you get the hardback, there's just really cool. Wait, give me a second. So you see the cover, right? You see the cover. Spooky. Yeah, really creepy. Really spooky. But then you go on the inside and, hold on, wait a minute. You can color it. It's a coloring page. It's a coloring page. You can color the cover if you wanted to. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I'm an artsy girl, so I'll be coloring that. Next on the list, we have A Master of Djinn. I'm currently reading this and loving it. P. Djeli Clark is one of my new favorite authors. Okay. He just has a way of writing. I don't know how else to explain it. Anyway, this is his first full-length novel, like I was saying. He has novellas, one of them being Dead Cattail Assassins, and then another being Ring Shout. Both I've read. Both are amazing. Would totally recommend checking them out. Anyway, this is a historical fiction mystery set in 1912 Cairo. Hi, Editing Desi here. So I forgot to mention that A Master of Djinn is actually based on and an extension of his short story A Dead Djinn in Cairo. There's also The Haunting of Tramcar 15, as well as The Angel of Khan el Khalili, which both take place in the same world. You don't have to read the short stories before reading A Master of Djinn, but if you do, it'd be like wading in the shallow end before diving into the deep end. And you're really introduced to the world and the characters in bite-sized portions. I did link 2 of the short stories in the description. You can read for free if you'd like. Oh, and another thing, apparently there's a small reference to another book of his called The Black God's Drum in A Master of Djinn. I just love the interconnectedness of his worlds, and I would really love to pick his brain. Okay, I'm done geeking out. Back to the video. Bye. Where magic and supernatural beings are just a part of daily life for Kyrians. I think that I pronounced that correctly. It's in the book. Okay, I'm not making this word up. So it's just another day for our detective Fatma, who is a detective of the Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments, and Supernatural Entities, to be on a case where there's a room full of dead Brotherhood of Al-Jahiz members. Yeah, it's just another day for her. It's no big deal. However, when the person that has killed them claims to be the infamous Al-Jahiz, who is responsible for pretty much introducing the supernatural and magic into the world, things get a little weird because this guy has not been seen for a long time. And if he were to return, he'd be well over like 100 years old. So like, who are you? But this person claiming to be Al-Jahiz is wreaking havoc in the streets of Cairo, and Fatma and her new partner Hadia are tasked with figuring out if this guy is really who he says he is or if he's just another imposter. Like I was saying, I haven't finished yet, but I'm almost done. Look at her. Look at her. Almost done. So excited to get to the end. Anyway, the themes that I've picked up on so far are gender issues, modernity. I'm going to put it down here because even when I'm reading it, I can't say it correctly. But modernity versus tradition, since it's been like 40 years since the introduction of like magic and stuff like that, there are some people that are still struggling with accepting that and kind of moving into a new world or a new age. Other themes are colonialism, racism, and there is also a queer romance in this one too. They're so cute. Yeah, I am enjoying this book so far. Freaking loving it. P.J. Lee Clark has a way of intertwining history with the world that he builds, like real world history, because he's a history professor. Well, I don't know if he is currently, but his major and his master's and stuff is in like history. So he's a pretty smart guy. And the way that it's written about, it's not heavy-handed. It doesn't feel like I'm reading a textbook. It's just in there naturally. But yeah, we are plopped into this reimagined Cairo in 1912 that is without the influence of European colonization, but instead the influence of magic and supernatural beings and enchantments and alchemy and all that fun stuff. Oh, as well as other like technological advances. They have like mechanical robots they call eunuchs, and then also lots of like high-speed rail systems and things like that. It's very steampunk, which I'm a fan of. And if you are too, you would love this book. Aside from the world, the characters are also very compelling, which P.J. Lee Clark does a great job of writing specifically strong female characters, i.e. Dead Cat Tail Assassins and Ring Shout. Please, if you haven't heard of or read those books yet, novellas, I would completely recommend. Anyway, I can't talk enough about Fatma, who is the badass, laser-focused, very well-dressed main character. Misogyny does still exist in this world, and Fatma fights almost every day to combat that, while also confronting the internalized misogyny that she has when she is given a partner for the first time, Hadia, who, do not underestimate my girl, okay? She can hold her own, okay? And she stands on business. And I love watching their relationship evolve. First, Fatma was hesitant to have her given a partner. She felt like it was just another decision by the ministry for optics, right? Because Fatma is the only woman detective in the ministry, and Hadia is the... Oh, wait, no. There's another detective as well. But Fatma is like renowned for graduating early at the institution and then also joining the force at an early age too, and just kind of trailblazing, right? And so Fatma is reluctant to have Hadia as her partner because she's like, oh, they're just doing this for optics. But like I was saying, their relationship evolves and they both learn from each other, and Hadia kind of makes Fatma address some of those internalized like misogynistic feelings and thoughts, which I love and I appreciate. And finally, Siti, who is Fatma's love interest. That is all I'm going to tell you about her, because if I say too much, I'll give some things away, and you'll just have to find out by picking up this book yourself. Next up, we have Africa Risen, which is a collection of 32 short stories that were put together by award-winning editors. These stories showcase the vibrancy, scope, and reach of science fiction and fantasy from Africa and the African diaspora. I've only read 3 or 4 short stories in this book, but I think this book does a good job of essentially capturing the Afrofuturism subgenre, culture. I'm not sure what to describe it, but yeah, Afrofuturism, this book. Yeah. I guess this could be like an honorable mention, but if you were wondering what Afrofuturism is, like I was, This book talks about it. I'm also reading this one as well. But according to this book, Afrofuturism is the intersection of imagination, technology, the future, and liberation, a total revisioning of the past, and speculation about the future rife with cultural critiques. That is what Afrofuturism is, and Africa Risen has plenty of stories like that, at least the ones that I've read. I'm just going to read some titles of some of the short stories just to pique your interest. We have Once Upon a Time in 1967, or A Girl Crawls in a Dark Corner. We have The Lady of the Yellow Painted Library, When the Mamiwata Met a Demon, A Soul of Small Places, Air to Shape Lungs. That one sounds like an interesting story. Yeah. So yeah, that's Africa Risen, and I'm gonna read this book for the anthology prompt for the anti-brain rot challenge, by the way, just if anyone was curious. Okay, last but certainly not least, we have A Sister Samurai by Tatiana Obe. I read this like last year, maybe, I think, and I loved it. It was so cool. It's a novella, and it is a Afro anime inspired fantasy about a last samurai struggling with grief and trauma and aching joints. She's in her 40s and she's just trying to get home. Okay, she just wants to get home, but she has to constantly be fighting demons. And she's like, yo, my bones hurt, I'm in pain, I'm gonna laugh about it and crack some jokes, but I'm still in pain. Yeah, if you are a blurred, okay, black nerd, and you are into anime, this book is like reading in anime. Does that make sense? Because that's what I envisioned when I was reading it. Some themes in Sister Samurai are trauma and healing, because she does lose her entire family, which is really sad. And so, we're following her throughout that grieving process and that grieving journey, while she's also trying to get home and fighting demons. It also talks about aging and redefining strength. This is also my petition for more main characters in their 30s and up. Thank you. There's also a found family element and just finding humor in the face of chaos, because she does crack a lot of jokes, and it's lovely. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It's heartwarming. I did cry a few times. But truly, as a Black woman, I felt so seen in this book. From the seemingly small to some people, but really big to me, talking about her hair or, moisturizing herself, right? Like, it just, those little things make really big impacts. And yeah, like I was saying, this reads like you're watching an anime and flows very nicely. And it's, like I was saying, it's a novella. It's a short read, but it is really nice. And I'm also certain, okay, so I think I bought it, that there's a second one. So I can't wait to read that one as well. This is by far not an extensive list of sci-fi and fantasy books written by Black authors. However, this is just a few that I wanted to shout out. Appreciate you for reading in Black History Month, but let's practice reading Black books by Black authors all year round. If you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate you. Thank you for your support. Comment a globe in the comments, as well as what book you found interesting from this list in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video. Get yourself a library card by hitting that subscribe button. I will see you in the next one. Also, happy Black History Month. It is great to be Black. Bye.
To set up your device using a screen reader.
I'm good. I have to hurry up. I have to leave. Fuck. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Thanks for tuning in. Okay.